Just a dragon box full of fun. I wonder what's inside. I'm not telling. Good morning, everybody. It's Stephen here for Bland Designs and the Idiot Quilter, and welcome to my weekly vlog. It is vlog number 404, and it is April the 14th, 2025. And it's an exciting day today because at 9 o'clock this morning, I open up registration for my Spring 2005 retreat, the Idiot Quilter Spring 2025 retreat. So at 9 a.m., you can send in your email request, include your first and last name, and include an email address that you will use as your main contact address if it isn't the one that's already in the header of the message you have sent to me, and you will be put on the list. You will get a confirmation, and there'll be other things coming out to you as well over the course of the next week and a half before the retreat, which is on Saturday, April the 26th. So I'm looking forward to the retreat. I've done a lot of work for it, and I think it's going to be the best one yet. How many times you've heard that from people, right? But let's move on then to what I've been working on. You have seen this, but now it is completely done, and that's the giraffe quilt by Tracy Perks. This is the one I have made as a baby gift for my new great niece, Clara. And I've got the mailing address. I got it from my brother yesterday, her grandfather. And I'm going to ship that out today or tomorrow out to Vancouver for them, along with the bibs I made. And you saw those on the Idiot Quilter. So I hope they like it. I almost don't want to part with it because I think it turned out very nice, even though there were a couple of little, let's just say I had to do some customizations. And those of you that have been here for a while know what I'm talking about, but I will talk more about those things tomorrow on the Idiot Quilter. And I will also be talking a little bit about this next one, this table topper, which is, yes, it is foundation paper piecing. However, I didn't do traditional foundation paper piecing. I used 21st century technology to create this with my embroidery machine. So we're going to be doing a special edition of So Chatty this coming Friday, showing you exactly how I came upon this idea and how you can do this as well if you have an embroidery machine. And just to prove that anybody can do it with an embroidery machine, as I said, I'm going to teach Walter how to do this. I'm not going to teach him how to make the whole thing. I'm just going to teach him how to make one of the blocks. But yeah, that's on So Chatty this coming Friday, so be sure to tune into that. And that's when I will talk more about the table topper. Okay. Yeah, this was a week where I did a lot of things and got nothing accomplished. I was doing things on the 3D printer, of course, I always am. Also learning more about the 3D printer as I do that. Maybe I'll talk a little bit more about that later on in the Can I print that effing thing section of my vlog. But right now, let's turn our attention to something that's going to make you laugh. And we need to laugh a lot these days, don't we? We need humor wherever we can get it. And preferably humor that has nothing to do with the political situation. And this one has just that, nothing to do with the political situation. And if you like baby skunks, and sorry, but baby skunks are so cute. They're just, do I dare say it? They're just cute little stinkers. Well, they are. Apparently, if you can get them descended and you get them at an early age, they make great house pets, kind of like a cat. But anyways, there are groups around the world that, save wildlife, or, try to do something if they find a hurt animal in the wild. Bring it back to health, rehabilitate it, and put it back in the wild. And these baby skunks on this YouTube video are exactly in that category. And did I tell you they're just so stinking cute? Well, here's what I'm talking about. This week's video clip is a great one if you want to have a laugh and just smile, have a smile for the day. And it's called Baby Skunk does the cutest stomps, and it comes from a channel called The Dodo. The Dodo features videos about, a lot of them are baby animals that have been rescued from the wild and are rehabilitated and then let back out into the wild after they have healed or have gotten acclimatized to the environment, whatever. But this particular one about the baby skunk does the cutest stomps is so funny. And it's funny in that aw kind of moment way. And don't we need more aw kind of moments in our life right now, given the way the world is? So, yeah. So if you want something that's going to get your mind off of what's happening out there for just a few minutes and bring a smile, as I said, to your face, then you want to check out the Dodo, and especially check out this one as your first video. The baby skunk does the cutest stomps, because skunks are cute. So the link for the baby skunk does the cutest stomps is in the show notes, and you will also a link for our weekly Sewing with Stephanie and Stephen, which is always on Wednesdays at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. So I do hope you can join us for that. There's a regular crew that comes out, but you want to know something? We love to swell our ranks. So everyone is welcome. Don't be shy. Join in. You will also find links for, if you haven't seen it, there's still time to see it if you want to get up to date about what's going on with my retreat, as I mentioned at the top of this video. Then there's a link for the video that I made about that and all the ins and outs. And did I mention too, the retreat, although you have to register for it, is absolutely free. And there's prizes. Yeah. Okay, and then there's links to my past week's videos as well. So that takes me to what things are looking like outside on my front door. And yeah, look at the color of that sky. That is incredible. I love that shade of blue. Can I get a fabric in that? Yeah, that's fantastic. So if that's any indication, it looks like it's going to shape up to be a nice day. The current temperature is 4 degrees Celsius, which is around 38, 39 degrees Fahrenheit, so it's a bit nippy. But according to the forecast, we're going to a high of 13, which is 13, about around 56, 57 degrees Fahrenheit. That's about what it was yesterday, too. And I wasn't outside yesterday. Walter was for his daily walk, and he said it was absolutely beautiful. He said you could get away with shorts. Yay. Yes, shorts and sandals. Ooh, can't come too soon for that season. So we do have, though, a chance, 30% chance of showers today. Well, it is April. April showers bring May flowers. And tomorrow there's a 50% chance of rain as well, but the temperature high is a little lower tomorrow, about 9 degrees Celsius. Wednesday, a little colder again, 6 degrees. We're not in summer yet. We're a ways from it. And windy. Thursday, though, sunny, 11. Friday, 70% chance of showers, 11, high. Saturday, 60% chance of showers, 12 degrees high. So it's looking like this week could be a little rainy. But you do need rain this time of the year. At least we do here. I know there are some parts that don't want rain down in the States. I heard yesterday. They've had enough already. So, yeah. And, yeah, by the looks of things, temperatures, though, even though they're dropping a little bit this week, are on the upward move. And a week from this Wednesday, we're supposed to be at a high of 18 degrees. Yeah. That's summer-like. So it's coming. Summer is coming, and I'm looking very much forward to the nicer weather. And I think we all are. It's time to give up the blues of winter and let's get into some real springy summer-like temperatures. Okay, so have some coffee. So that takes me to what's pissing me off this week. I entitled this blog as "It's Hard to Hate a Friend," and it is. We've all been there. We have all had a good friend or several good friends, and things are going along fine. We think it's a forever situation and nothing bad is ever going to happen with that relationship. We can depend on that person through thick and thin and the whole bit. And then something happens and the friendship ends or is badly damaged. So damaged that it doesn't look like there's any way of having reconciliation. And that makes us feel very, very blue, very bad about the whole thing. But we have been hurt so badly by this other person that we are having a hard time to forgive and try to get back on track with the relationship. That's exactly what it's like right now for us as Canadians with Americans. And there's a couple of reasons for that. Besides the obvious, Trump and his tariffs, we know all about those. Trump is making the whole world turn their backs on the United States. But let's bring it down to a more personal level, shall we? Let's forget about the politics for the moment and let's talk about the situation we're in right now. And, I don't think Americans really get it. And part of the problem with that is Americans don't get much about Canadians. You don't see much on your television about us. When we go down to the States, itchy eye. When we go down to the States, turn on the TV, all that seems to be on in the TV in the hotels are sports and news. And none of the news programs report much about Canadian politics or anything else. They don't even report Canadian weather. They show a map of North America, and there's only one blob on it, and that's the United States. Canada, if it's on there at all, is just usually a big solid color mass. That's it. Nothing more. Probably the same for Mexico, too. And yeah, so Americans have no concept of who we are. And on our lives, if you've been following that, we're trying to educate everybody about who we are as a country, as people, as Canadians. But that's kind of sad because Americans were our best friends. Well, that's what we've been told. But again, I don't want to talk about the political situation. I want to talk about individual. Americans don't know anything about us as individuals, really, very little. Maybe some of the Americans that live in the northern states know a little bit more because we're just across the border, but the further south you go in the United States, the more ignorant, and I'm using that word not as an insult, but as in its technical meaning, lack of knowledge about us as Canadians. We are people, aren't we? You cut us, do we not bleed? Bringing a little Shakespeare here. We're not that much different to Americans in terms of as individuals. Yeah, there are differences, and we've pointed those out. But really, we're just people, right? And when we travel to the States, we didn't really feel like we were meeting up with aliens. We found most of the time Americans on an individual basis, are usually fairly polite, friendly, and very helpful. And I would hope that they find that with Canadians as well. But we've been hurt. That friendship is, for all intents and purposes, is gone. It's gone. Why? Trust has been broken and respect. There is no respect. And now I do have to bring in politics. When the head person of a country, i.e. Donald Trump, turns around and threatens our Canada to become the 51st state, when he calls our Prime Minister the governor of the state of Canada, that ruffles our feathers. And you know that. You have heard about that. So, first of all, that's disrespectful. And it's disrespectful to think that you can just walk in here and take us over like that. No. That suggests that we are nothing. We're no better than the dirt under your boot. that hurts. And again, I bring it back to being friends. You don't say those things, you don't have that kind of attitude towards someone who's a good friend. So that hurts. That really hurts. And then to turn around and not even acknowledge that maybe we as a people are being hurt by what these things that are happening to us. Well, that's not what a friend does. A friend's there for support. So we have disrespect. We don't have any support, or any support that we are able to see, nothing viable there. Comments, very hurtful comments made about us. So yeah, that's not a friendship. And we have been friends for years, Americans and Canadians. And this has just ripped our hearts out. Now, I know there are Americans who feel exactly the same way. And I have heard more than one American apologize for what's happening, as if it was totally their fault. Well, it is. I'm sorry. I am sorry. But here we go. We're slipping into politics again. But you put the clown into office, and you can say you didn't vote for him, but you didn't do anything to put up strong opposition to him getting in through the other party either. So yeah, so that trust element, we can't trust you as people to do the right thing anymore. So I guess our relationship now is this. We're sad that we are no longer friends. We would love to go back to the way it used to be, but too much damage has been done. And I think the trust issue especially is maybe the worst one in a friendship, when a friendship breaks up, because you're always looking over your shoulder. You're always second guessing what your friend is saying or what your friend is doing. How are they doing this as a friend? Are they doing something that will support me? Can I trust them? Or, well, once burned, the saying. So, yeah. And that's the situation we're in right now. And it is sad. It is very, very sad. I don't want the Chinese and the European people to be my friend. I would like to coexist peacefully with them, but I don't want them as my friend. I had a friend. I had a really good friend. I had Americans. And now that's gone. Food for thought. Okay, let us move on to the grow light situation. Well, I'm going to show you my peppers because I'm very proud of my peppers. Every week I show you my peppers. Well, here are my peppers again. Aren't they a thing of beauty? They are. They're almost too pretty to pick. The yellow, the orange, the red. I think there's some green ones back in there as well. Well, you can't see them way back in this far corner. There's a green one over there too. But they're doing really, really well. And there are flowers coming up on the plants. So I said to Walter, does that mean that they're going to produce more peppers? And as far as he knows, he thinks they will. So this is kind of a perpetual thing, and that's what we were aiming for. So yeah, they are a thing of beauty, as I've said. Love them. And we have been eating them as well. So, and they are, I don't know if it's psychological or what, but for some reason our salads or anything that we put these peppers in just tastes better. Yeah, I guess it's because we know we grew them ourselves. The other grow lights are looking very sad, and it's time to do some replanting in those, and that's why I don't have a picture of them, because there's nothing to see but death in the pot. Death in a pot. Yeah, there's a title for a movie. Death in a pot. Okay, so new products. Well, I haven't bought anything, and I'm purposely trying to hold back from purchasing on Amazon. You know, I used to say a day without a delivery from Amazon is like a day without sunshine. Yeah. Well, that kind of gives you an indication of how often I ordered from Amazon. It's so easy, isn't it? And you get it pretty fast. Prices are, well, you sometimes you can get better prices in other places, but it's the convenience you're paying for. I miss my Amazon, I'm sorry to say. But given the situation right now, I'm trying to find alternative sources for things and not immediately go to Amazon. However, you might say, then how's that working out for you? Not well. Not well. You really don't realize how dependent you are on something until you don't use that something. And that's the case with Amazon. However, I couldn't get what I'm about to show you anywhere else. And I just, I needed them. I need them for a trip. And so I had to break down and go to Amazon. And this is what I'm talking about. I bought, this is going to be so exciting. I bought new shoes. Haven't got them yet. But these are slip-ins. They look like they lace up, but they're slip-ins. This isn't exactly what I ordered. I couldn't find the picture of exactly what I ordered. But these ones, what I really like about them is I have a pair of Skechers that you slip into, but they're a little bit softer on the back, so you kind of have to get your finger in there or use a shoehorn. These ones are built with a kind of a stiff back. You notice how it's lifted up a bit? And Walter has a pair of these. That's why I bought a pair, because I tried his and loved them. You just put your foot in there and bang, it's in. Yeah, no squishiness at the back. And they're very, very comfortable, too. They're not particularly cheap, as you can see. This is Canadian price. But yeah, I ordered them. And I ordered them because I want to have comfortable shoes for all the walking we'll be doing this summer when we go to Holland and when we go to London. So yeah, I'm expecting those. Now here's where we're spoiled by Amazon, okay? If I'd ordered these on Amazon, I would have them by now. Well, Amazon doesn't have them on their site. I don't think. I didn't even look there. But these take, I said to Walter the other day, because I ordered these over a week ago, I said, how long did it take for you to get yours? And he said, oh, it takes about 2.5 weeks, 2 to 2.5 weeks or so. I said, okay, good thing I'm not in a rush. But again, that's the Amazon effect, isn't it? It wasn't all that long ago. If we ordered anything online, we expected to wait at least a week, 10 days to even 2 weeks or longer for it. Now with Amazon, we expect it instantaneously. That is a hard habit to break. But we need to do our part as Canadians with this kind of stuff as much as we can. Okay, so that's about the only new thing coming along. So let's go to, can I print this 3D effing thing? Well, yes, I can, and very happy about it. Let me just get my picture up here. Okay, here we are, the fortune teller. This is another one of those displays, I don't know what you want to call it, models that come from Fulv, Fulv, never sure how you say his name, but this one, as I said, is called the fortune teller, and it is so cool. This is my fourth major project from him that I have purchased and printed on the 3D printer. Everything except the little globe light are all printed on the 3D printer. The bamboo X1 carbon is the greatest thing since sliced bread. I am not sponsored. If they want to sponsor me, I'd almost consider it if it meant them sending me their newest printer, but that's not going to happen. But it does a wonderful job of all of this. I mean, they take a long time to print out, but the end result is well worth it. This is sitting in my formal living room on the coffee table in there, having a little problem with that globe or orb that's in the center here of the device. Um, it it runs off an app from your phone, and I can't seem to get it set up to automatically come on and automatically turn off at certain times. And I did some research, and basically the company wants you to buy something they call a gateway, and they're about 50 Canadian bucks in order to do that. I'm not pleased with that. Also, I didn't think this thing was working properly because it was like it wasn't holding a charge, and I couldn't get it to pair up readily with the Bluetooth feature. So I finally wrote to the company. I did this yesterday, so I haven't heard a word from them. I don't know if I will, but in the meantime, I think I kind of fixed the problem. Yeah, we'll see. I'm still experimenting with it, but it still will not allow me to set it up on, an automatic timer system, which is what I want to do. The other problem I'm having with this particular model, which has nothing to do with the creator of it, it has to do with my placement. I have it plugged into the LED lights are actually USB driven. I have them plugged into a power brick, which I hide kind of behind it, but I'm finding that that's not cooperating. Um, the lights that I put in this are ones that I bought, I think, on Temu, and they're not as good as the lights he recommended. I should have gone with what he recommended. Um, I thought I was okay with Temu because, as you've heard me say in the past, I have had good. I've not had anything from Temu that didn't work the way it was supposed to work. However, these do work, but they're just not bright enough, and I'm having trouble with the timing control on them. But the saving grace here is, and as I said, I'm not finished experimenting yet, is that we don't sit in that room very much. And, when we are in there, it's just a matter of me flicking a button kind of a thing, and I can turn the system on, you know, to bask in its orbish glory and all that kind of thing. But yeah, these are really great. And if you don't have a bamboo printer, for those of you that are into 3D printing, and you may have seen these are on, you have to pay for them. They're not that expensive. I think this one was about $23 Canadian, which is pretty good because the number of pieces and the amount of time and effort that the creator of this put into it to get it all to go together flawlessly, well, yeah. Um, I would pay double the price. I would for it. Shh, don't want him to hear that though. Actually, I did write him a note thanking him for this and telling him how much I appreciated his time and his effort for all of this. And he wrote back. Yeah. So you get good customer service with this individual as well. So if you're interested in seeing his other models, go to 3D Cults and just plug in the search engine FULV, and you can see all his lovely creations. I'm soon going to get another one. It's called the Toy Factory, and with it comes in two versions. One version is not motorized, the other version is, and I think I may buy the whole kit with the motorized part on it. So yeah, what was I talking about? Coming back to this. Anyways, you don't need a bamboo printer to print these. If you've got other printers that don't have an AMS, an automatic material supply, which is what automatically changes your colors, you can still do it on a single color machine. I mean, you will have to change your filament reels regularly, but it can be done. How do I know? Well, my very first one that I ever made by this creator was done on the Creality KEs that I have, and they're single color machines, and it turned out great. Although having the bamboo with the AMS does make your life a little easier for that kind of thing. So yeah, these are great, and I'm very, very happy with this. Okay, so some other things I've been making though. So I found some new dragons, and so I printed these two little guys off here. as you can see. And then this one was just to see what it would look like. There's, for those of you in the 3D printing community, you know what a benchy is. Traditionally, the benchy has been this little ship that you print out to check the settings on your printer. Then there was a whole controversy about this not being in the public domain because people were taking the little benchy boat, the basic boat, and doing all kinds of things with it. At one point, I was printing out these new things and having a collection of them. I'm over that now. But I did see this, and they made it into a little cup, like a pencil holder, tool holder, the kind of thing, with all these little benchies along the side of it. So I just wanted to see what it would be like if I printed it out. So that was a whimsical little thing. I don't really have any specific use for it, but I did it. And this, though, is going to be a gift. I'm not going to say anything more about who the gift is for at this point in time. But, you know, this is a little sewing box. I did it all on the bamboo, and I added these dragons as decorations on the lid, because when you take off the lid, this is what you have inside. You have one section that is divided up. Again, this was put up on the site that I got it from on Maker World as a sewing box, so room for thread, needles, things like that. And then that part comes out, and there you've got the rest of the box. It's a fairly good size, and you know, then it all goes together as I showed you in the first picture. I think it's cool. I think it's cool, and it's substantial too. This is not thin little plastic on here. It is good. The designer of this really thought about thickness of what they call wall thickness and that kind of thing. So yeah, as I said, it's going to be a gift for somebody very soon, and I'm not going to say any more about that. Okay, so that takes me to an old clip from back in the day when we first started Stephen and Walter Live, and this one comes from a video that you've already seen some parts from when we talked about a trip we made to London, to England. And on this one, we talk about English food.
So let's move out from shopping. Let's talk, since we were talking about Marks and Spencer's and food, let's talk about the food. Went to a lot of pubs, had a lot of pies, and I don't mean fruit pies, meat pies. Actually, they do meat pies over there totally different from the way we do them here, and I like them much better. Yeah,
they're all so light.
Well, they're not light, and they all were cooked in beer. But like steak and ale pie, steak and Guinness pie.
You had that.
I had the chicken
Madras
one, and that was quite good. Because I like Indian food, and that's the other food they have lots of over there, Indian food, and we both love Indian food, so we had it a couple of times.
Right.
And it was good, both at both the places that we had, or in different places that we had. Of course, the pubs traditionally will have curry in England.
Yeah, but we didn't notice too many.
But not this time. I didn't notice that so much.
Maybe it's just the ones that we had. And there was one place that we went for lunch, and they said the curry. They didn't have the curry.
They were out of curry, yeah. Of course, fish and chips. Now, I do not like fish. I don't mind fish and chips as long as it's halibut. But most of these places, well, all these places, they don't serve halibut in England. They serve cod in a lot of them. Walter got fish and chips in one place, and I had a pie. But
see, I'm a little bit more tolerant to the fish than he is, but I'm still not big on fish. I like fish and chips, though.
I tried a little piece of yours, and actually I found the cod.
Was good. I've had fish and chips a couple of times there, and in a pub, and both times they were good.
So I did order fish and chips with the cod at another place, and actually it was quite good. I quite enjoyed it. So maybe, I don't know. Here, though, I don't think we get a lot of cod. It's usually haddock.
You can get cod. The cod's cheaper than halibut. Yeah.
The
halibut's more of a North American type fish, or at least a Canadian fish, I think.
But maybe I'll be more adventuresome here at home with fish and chips. But I am not going to be venturesome with any other kind of fish.
Each country uses it whatever is popular, and they're easy to get.
Question here says, please explain what's a meat pie. That's Catherine. Deborah says it's like a pot pie, and
Yeah, it's like a pot
Jennifer
pie.
says it's like a pot pie. Okay, what it is basically dough like you'd find in like a fruit pie, okay, like a dessert pie, except it's filled with meat, sometimes vegetables as well, and gravy. Sometimes they make the gravy with beer or ale as well into it.
And
That's
they
all it is.
get gravy with it and pour it over top or whatever, and they serve it with
Usually
mashed
chips.
potatoes or French fries or
Chips. They call them chips.
they call them chips in England.
Chips.
But they're French fries.
But they're French fries. We call French fries here. And sometimes they come with mushy peas.
Or vegetables.
Yeah. Now I like mushy peas, but the mushy peas that I like are essentially peas you get in a can, like kind of like that. Not quite, but sort of. But theirs were really green and slightly crushed. I don't know if they mixed
No,
them with
the
it.
one that we got where we both got the fish and chips. We were crushed. But the one I had before that, it was actually
More mush?
Yeah.
More mush than crushed?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it said in that description on that menu that we got that you had the fish and chips, it said crushed peas.
Oh, did it actually say crushed?
It didn't say mushy.
Oh, well, they were crushed. Actually, they were okay, but I love peas. Peas are my favorite vegetable, and I especially love like really fresh little sweet peas, green peas, kind of a thing. But so I like those too. That was fine.
Yeah, so we tended to eat a lot of places that we aren't really used to getting here. Though we did go for pizza once.
Lindsay wants to know, did you have apple pie? No, we didn't. In fact, I don't remember seeing that in any of the places we ate as a menu item. Of course, we don't often eat dessert when we're out, although we had it a couple of times. I did have.
I mean, I saw sticky toffee pudding a lot on the menu, so we didn't have any. But
and they had a crumble.
We did have a crumble one time.
Yeah, we had blackberry and apple crumble, which was quite tasty.
Actually was good.
You could have it with vanilla ice cream, or you could have it with custard. So we had it with the custard
because that's usually something we don't get here.
Yeah. That's not something that's common here. And I like custard. So I like ice cream too as well. But so we had it with that, and it's warm. That was very nice. Actually, one place, well, our best meal was actually an Italian meal that we had. It was in a restaurant we'd been to before.
I think it was called Paparadelle or something like this, and it's in London on
it's in
High Holborn or something street. And we'd been there before 3 years ago, and we recall that the food was very good then. And so we decided to go back again, and it was busy. It was
really busy.
Was it a Wednesday or was it? It was no,
no,
it was a Wednesday.
It was a Monday.
And it was really packed in there, and so. I had the lasagna, and it was probably one of the best restaurant lasagnas I've ever had.
And they have a section of what we both had came from their homemade noodles.
Right.
I had it was a wide noodle with there was chicken in it, mushrooms, and there was
it wasn't a cream sauce.
It was a gorgonzola. No, it wasn't gorgonzola. It was a cream sauce of some sort, but actually it was very, very good. Mind you, we also had dessert there. Now, what we had for dessert was limoncello. Well, you had amaretto on ice cream, and I had limoncello on ice cream. And limoncello is a liqueur, an Italian liqueur. It's lemon.
Yeah, it was served as a parfait with
whipped cream
on top.
Actually, it was very tasty. Not a particularly cheap meal, but not the most expensive. We had a bottle of their house wine, which was the cheapest wine on their menu.
And we had bruschetta for an appetizer,
and the wine was quite palatable. Not that we're big snobs about wine, as long as it doesn't make me throw up, I figure it's good. But that whole thing came to with everything, taxes or whatever, it worked out to 112 Canadian dollars for the two of us, which really,
I mean, the quality of the food is very good.
That isn't terribly expensive. We've spent more than that here in our own country on meals that are not as good as what we had there. So I mean, it's London. It's a big city. You're not going to get cheap food, not unless you're going to go to McDonald's or the Burger King. We did do Burger King one night, and I'm still throwing it up. Okay.
Yeah, because we were tired and we didn't feel like going anywhere. And
we knew it was a mistake.
Yeah, well.
But Have you ever seen anybody bitch about something they buy at a Burger King that's new on their menu and want to know what it tastes like, but after they've already ordered it before they've tried it? Like there was this weird guy
Yeah,
ahead of us, and he was giving them a really hard time about something. I think actually, basically, what they did was they gave him his meal for nothing out of it just to get him out of their hair. But that was kind of weird. But
So it takes me to events in the past week, and in the past week we had a pop-up sew day on Saturday, which are always fun. Had a good turnout, about 26 people at the height of it, and I think people got a lot of things done. Saw a lot of cool creations or things that people were working on. As for me, oh, like I said at the beginning of the vlog today, it was one of those kind of weeks where I worked on a lot of things, but I got nothing done. I started a new quilt. I scrapped that quilt. I'm going to talk about that tomorrow on the Idiot Quilter. You can see behind me on my design wall a couple of projects. Yes, I'm working on a Halloween gnome hanger. I know we're a little ways away from Halloween, but that was the kind of mood I was in. I was just flip-flopping from one project to the next, trying to stay focused, trying to stay interested. The blocks you see up there are part of the Barnstar sampler quilt that I've been working on forever. And I have made a decision. I'm going to get the bloody thing done. I'm not going to let other things divert my attention from getting this done. It's going to be a great quilt when it's finished. I plan to put it on our bed when it's done because I think it'll be a good size for that. I'm coming. I have 6 more. What you see on there is called block 14. There are multiples of the same block in each set. So this one has 3. So that's block set 14. I've got 6 more block sets to go. I hope they get easier. Well, they're not hard. There's just lots of little pieces. Yeah. So, yeah, pop-up sew day. I didn't get what I want to get accomplished, but if anything, pop-up sew day made me start putting things, my creations, into perspective. Let's get her done. Okay, and then right when you thought it was safe to go back into hibernation, on Sunday, Russ of Quilt Meets World had a sewing shenanigans, which is his version of a pop-up sew day. And so a lot of the same people and some other ones who weren't at mine, which is fine. For whatever reason, I'm not hurt. No, really, I'm not hurt. Yeah. We're there too. So, and it was a good turnout. And again, more things done. So, lots of fun. Now, when's the next pop-up sew day? Don't know. It could be a while because I've got the retreat coming up in 2 weeks' time. So, in a sense, that's like a pop-up sew day, except pop-up sew day on steroids. And then we're into May, and in about the tail end of the second week or 2 weeks into May, we leave for Holland, and we'll be gone for a couple of weeks. So as far as a pop-up sew day in May is concerned, not sure if I'm going to be able to squeeze one in or not. But you know, distance makes the heart grow fonder, so by the time we get back from Holland and everything, everybody will just be in a mood for a pop-up sew day. At least that's my theory, and I'm sticking to it. Okay. And I think Rustin might be in the same boat because he's going off, I believe, to visit his sister in a few weeks' time. So hard to say when he's going to have his next sewing shenanigans as well. Could be a dry spell here. Okay. So other events in the past week? Nothing much to speak about. I think that was it. Yeah. I worked on the retreat, some more things that I needed to get done, out of the way, ready to go. I am an organizer, and so there were things to organize. And I'm very happy organizing. I love doing that kind of thing. But I want to make sure everything runs smoothly for the retreat. Everything should run seamlessly. That's what I'm aiming for. And, you know, if you've been to one of my retreats before, I'm not to toot my own horn, but I think I have achieved that on the other ones. But, you know, I'm not going to sit back and think and let things just go on their own. I'm actively involved with my own retreat. Yeah, at least in the behind the scenes. Okay, so yes, the retreat is April 26th. Registration opens today at 9 a.m. I've already told you that. Sound like a broken record. I'm telling you again. Do not try to register before 9 a.m. today, April 14th, because I will ignore your request. I know that sounds arrogant and horrible, but it's because I want to keep everything fair, because it does fill up very quickly. And if you saw the video I made about the whole procedure for the retreat, you will know I will have a waiting list as well. So, yeah, it's going to be a busy day, I think, for me as I process all the requests for the retreat. And there's other things that need to be done around here too. I'll let you know a little secret. There's something in my refrigerator giving off a really bad smell, and I can't find what it is. I suspect there's something back in the depths of that fridge that's rotting. So one of my jobs today as well is clean out the fridge, because I don't know what it is. Maybe I'll take a picture of it when I find it. Show it to you next week. Would that be a thrill? You'd like that, wouldn't you? Okay, I'm rambling. Gotta go. Have a great week, and we'll see you later. Bye for now.